everyone, I just want to welcome you here today. Thank you very much for attending. The whole purpose of the workshop that we're doing here today is to build common ground and common understanding between the scrap metal industry, the policing sector, as well as the stakeholders that are currently being affected by theft, specifically like infrastructure theft. So what we're doing here today is to share information. So we all have the same understanding. What can we do? What can't we do? What is going to be expected from us as scrap metal dealers when they come to our branches, when they conduct inspections? What type of information are they looking for? What type of records are they looking for? I've also offered to do the same sort of training workshop for the police themselves. I'll set it up with the stakeholders so that we all have the same understanding. We're going to start with presentations. Telkom is also attending, and then we've got Warrant Officer Naika and Captain Tembu from Provincial Commissioner's Office, who will share some information on the Second-Hand Goods Act, how it's being policed, what the requirements are legislatively in terms of record keeping, keeping your stock, etc., and what to expect when you're having an inspection. If you have any questions thereafter, we're going to open the floor, but I am going to ask that we keep it open to general matters and not specifics, because I know we've had a lot of issues in the industry in the last 3 weeks. It wasn't this office specifically. They understand our concerns. They're here to assist us that we get the knowledge that we do need. Okay.
Good morning, one and all. I'm Warrant Officer Naika from the Second-Hand Goods Provincial Office. I'm here to just give you insight into what is required in terms of a Section 28 inspection. Section 28 is talking about compliance. We require, in order for us to come to your premises, we must come with order and decency. We must identify ourselves firstly, who we are, where we're from. The main purpose is to regulate the act in terms of stolen goods. So we're looking for your registers. You can keep your registers in terms of an electronic form as well as in terms of a book form. In terms of your registers, it must specify the date of transaction, the time, and who brought it in, the person's ID document. All that must be given by yourself. It must be recorded in your transactional register. It's all about acquisition and disposal, how you acquire it, and the keeping of the records for a period of 7 days. In terms of Regulation 9, it talks about keeping of an electronic database, which you can. Many of our police officials are not aware that you can have an electronic database. So they come to you and they ask you, can we produce your register? So we try to have a workshop to educate our foot soldiers on the ground to have these workshops so we can train them in terms of the Second-Hand Goods Act. In terms of what we discuss?
In terms of record keeping, like if we've got the copy of the seller's ID, his address, telephone number, is there any other documents that you would require dealers to get from the seller to prove where the material originated from?
Exactly. For example, like I know a lot of people purchase from Aberdeen. You need to have that purchase and sale agreement from them saying that you'll acquire these goods and you'll strip it off and it's for sale. We need to have those paperwork. We ask for records for a period of 7 days. For a period of 7 days.
What happens to the materials once they've now gone through the 7-day holding period? I've kept it, I've bagged it, I've tagged it. It's now on day 8 and I now want to start processing it. If you walk in and you inspect it and you ask me, where does this come from? And it's out of the 7 days. Are you satisfied with that, or are you going to ask for more information?
No, once it's past the 7 days, we don't deal with it. It's already the time frame. It was given the police ample time to come and inspect the goods. So once it's off the 7 days, you can dispose of it.
Our branches amongst KZN, our yards keep those items for 7 days. They then get sorted and transferred to our main branch to be sold on from there. How do we look after ourselves in that situation?
So you say that you have 7 branches, yes, and the goods are a period of 7 days.
7 days, so within the 7-day time frame,
yes.
Right? We then sort them at the branch, we load them up, we take them to our head office, where we obviously bag and sell them to customers. We've got those bags now with stuff that we've kept in our other branches for the 7 days. When you come in, how do you police that?
Okay, you must be accountable from which branch you're bringing it firstly. Okay, with the stock numbers, so we can verify that. But once it's kept for a period of 7 days, you can dispose it of.
So if I can assist in clarifying there, is if you're doing a stock transfer and not a purchase. So if you're doing a stock transfer now, your stock is out of your 7 days and you're transferring your stock to head office for resale. It's out of the 7 days and there's no records required for it unless you're doing additional purchases at a head office, which are now being kept separately. And that's what he's talking about in terms of acquisitions and disposals. But if you're doing a purchase, it's kept for 7 days, but a stock transfer that's already exceeded the 7 days is not a purchase.
But many times when we go to the scrapyards, this is just from my experience, we find items and they have no stock number, just bagged. Usually they do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and they dump everything because it's all different people bringing different types of material. So we want the stock number. So you can tell us, identify stock number 45. It's got a link. It's got a person's ID copy. He knows where the person resides. Even if you need to take his residential address to, it's good, so we can verify later on.
Warrant, in terms of, I know most of the dealers are going to have the same question, so I don't know if you mind me posing the question now, but in terms of the purchasing of copper specifically, we've had police officers policing the industry in the last 3 weeks, basically telling dealers that the purchase of copper is illegal.
That's totally incorrect. The purchase of copper is legal. The purchase of burnt copper is legal, as long as you have a reasonable explanation to say us that where it was acquired from. That person, that's in Section 24 of the Second Hand Goods Act. He must be able to identify where he acquired it from. Because we know in terms of this industry, in terms of the non-ferrous metal industry, they strip it or they burn it for the value of the copper.
Is that a reasonable explanation?
No, that's not the reasonable, but you must exactly tell us a reasonable explanation, because I can have a whole lot of household equipment, utensil cords and things like that, cut up everything and I burn it and bring it and come and say it's my household stuff.
So to clarify, the explanation must match what you're seeing.
Exactly.
So
there must be an affidavit, but if you notice something, an affidavit, you want an affidavit.
How can you get an affidavit? Because no one will issue an affidavit for that.
No. I'm saying, for example, if somebody comes to you with, for example, Telkom copper, and you can see it's Telkom copper, you need to notify the police immediately.
Oh, okay.
He needs to give an affidavit as to how he acquired that goods.
I thought you were talking about an affidavit generally, because a lot of the times the customers will go to a police station and they'll say, I'd like to make an affidavit to say that this cell phone belongs to me. And the police officer is saying, I can't verify that that belongs to you, so how do I give you the affidavit? So what we're asking our buyers to do is to bring us some sort of source document on like a company letterhead or a business card attached to say, I am A1 Electrical and I'm selling my scrap household electrical wiring to fine scrap.
You've got like a pro forma.
Affidavit?
No, it's like a pro forma where the buyers.
That's the declaration.
That's the declaration,
yes.
yes.
So you're happy with the declaration?
Happy with the declaration.
Okay. So long as there's a reasonable explanation.
Somebody is accountable.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry. What you need to get into the industry is that you're not allowed to find one copy.
Agreed. That's why I was asking the question. And he's from the Provincial Commissioner's Office.
Come out there. When come out there, they're not listening to what you say.
That's why we're going to set up a workshop after this one with all the police officers, and we're going to do the same training with them as well.
Our ground soldiers in the police, in all departments, they don't know about the Second Hand Goods Act. So we're trying to legislate it to all of them, so they understand that a person can buy burnt copper. But you must have a reasonable explanation.
100%.
Yeah, that is all we want. If you feel the guy is dodgy, he stole this stuff somewhere, immediately you must report it to the policeman. That's the right thing to do.
Yes.
And if it's burnt and it looks like, and I always say products that are similar to those affected by the stakeholders, be extra cautious in examining the paperwork that's presented to you for it. So like we recommend as a trade association that you phone and verify that letter, that you ask for a landline number, not like a cell phone number. Because we had cases in the past where a cell phone number would be on a letterhead. Meantime, the guy was in the taxi outside saying, yes, no, I'm Mike Smith, yes, I gave him permission, no problem, buy 800 kilos, it's fine. So if you phone a landline, it's usually linked get to an address. It's more traceable in terms of audit trails. You say, okay, yes, hi, is Mark Smith there? Is he the director? Did you issue this letter? Is there a company registration on it?
But if the police is not following protocol, can we phone somebody? Because at that moment, the mercy.
You are, and you're being arrested, yes. Agreed.
At every police station we have a designated second-hand goods coordinator. He's appointed by our provincial commissioner in terms of Section 38(1) of the Second-hand Goods Act.
The guys that have been doing the inspections recently, there is no second-hand goods officer.
No,
We're
agreed.
going to leave you with our number. You feel free. We're also working in terms of the EITS. It's called an establishment of the integrated task team.
Yes.
We are not part of the task team because we're always going out. We not only deal with second-hand goods, we also deal with firearm licensing.
100%.
Right, so we're going to leave our number with you and we can refer the right person to you. Like for this area now, this is Bel Air area. Warrant Officer Kumar was to be present here. He is our second-hand goods coordinator for this area.
Okay.
Can I just comment there for a second? I'm part of this task team. It's been established.
Yes.
So they inform me.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And the whole purpose of today's workshop is we've worked over the years to make sure that the industry knows what they can and cannot do legally in terms of buying and record keeping, and we've maintained good levels of compliance, which has been seen by the inspections that have been done. And we don't want to ruin the relationship that we've built between the police and the companies and the affected stakeholders. We would like to work together so that if we've got illegal people operating in this framework, unregistered dealers, backyard people who are stealing cables or whatever and exporting it under the disguise of car parts or rags or whatever, that you can tackle that, you can focus on that. That's where the problem is. We're all here to be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Maybe just add something. I'm Captain Chen, working at the same office, second provincial office. At the moment, we've had a lot of complaints. You must understand when there are operations, general operations, and then there's copper in the area, copper tape. That's what they do, but I think for that purpose, have the station commander's telephone number so that you can communicate with them. What they have, those operations, DSO doesn't know, they just go and look for copper tape in all your businesses. At the end of the day, you are business people, you are not criminals.
Yes.
So you must be treated as such. But in those circumstances, you might have your foot pressed, but understand so they work just because there is theft of copper, high number in their station. They do that behind our back, like, let's go do this, let's go do this. But what I mean, if you can speak to station commander, DSO, I must know the DSO, this is the situation, because some of them don't know really, like, we are telling you, DSO hasn't, all of them are not up to date with the act. So
our DSO in one of my branches has told us, these guys that come and do inspections like this are not allowed in your yard. They're not allowed in your yard.
Yes.
If they don't know, if they present themselves with me, together with me, they're not allowed to come to your yard. It's private property. It's private property. Unless they have a search warrant.
If there's a warrant, and there's positive information that something is, they have to get a search warrant.
The only thing I sort of guard against is creating that immediate conflict at your premises, because I do know what it's like. You've got police officers out there, as the captain's saying, they're like now going to go and address copper theft in the area, and they get to a business and you say to them, you're not allowed inside my property without a warrant. The way to word it, I would recommend, is to say, I cannot consent to you entering my property without a warrant, but I cannot obstruct you.
We also have been
Yes.
asked the scrap dealers here, how many of them have been arrested in the past 2 weeks?
I would say more than 50%. More than 50%, quite easily. Yes, serious. I agree with you. I've received, yes. Which is the whole reasoning behind setting up another workshop so soon, was I saw exactly how badly it was affecting the entire industry. And we can't be operating our businesses out of a place of fear. We're knowledgeable people, we know what we're doing, we know what we're allowed to purchase, what we're not allowed to purchase, how to keep our records, etc. And we need to make sure that we've got that common understanding between ourselves and the Provincial Commissioner's Office, that this is how we are operating. Let them focus on the people who are not obeying the law. 100%, but we also need to have that line of communication between us.
Any policeman that comes to your premises, he must come there with order and decency. Identify himself, tell him where the purpose of his visit, and we noticed that at the scrap dealers, majority of them just have a 601A. A 601A is a certificate as a general dealer. They do not have a 601B. The 601B is a recycler's certificate. It must be prominently displayed, visible in the eye of the public. It is an offence in terms of Section 15 of the second-hand goods not to display it. We find that's one of the crucial things. But we've noted what you have said to us about our police officials. We're going to leave our number with you, and there's a difference between Section 28 compliance inspection, and there's a difference between an operation. When we come for an operation, we're coming with a warrant to search and seize, a J57. We come with an operation with the purpose of to search and seize. So then we'll ask you, with order and decency, to enter your property. But if you do not allow us, we're going to produce the warrant, and we're going to search the premises.
For my own interest, the cordon and search, is that still applicable to station level in terms of search and seizure?
Yes.
Okay, so basically what that means is that without applying for a warrant through a magistrate, a police officer can, through his station commander...
You must have a reasonable suspicion to say that, you know what, this goods here, I've seen it before, and it was identified by Xposures.
Yes. The difference between a warrant and a cordon and search is the cordon and search applies to a much broader area as opposed to a specific premises. So they could apply for a cordon and search within a specific jurisdiction or district area to say they're going to conduct a search of all these types of premises within that area. So I'm just giving you an idea of, you might see two different types of documents if they are presenting you with a document. The one is a cordon and search and the other one is the J57.
Mainly without the warrant, it has to be like the goods, the information is that goods will disappear.
Yes.
While I'm processing the warrant, other than that, search warrant.
Agreed.
Other than, if the goods, but the police officer who comes to do that search must have reasonable ground that if I delay going there,
Agreed.
the goods within 30 minutes, while I'm in the process of going to the magistrate to obtain search warrant, goods
Will be delayed.
only that.
There's a good practice in Northwest where Sharon Boshoff versus the Minister of Safety and Security, and she lost. They met the same story, the issue of burn copper. She bought in burn copper, and she did not record the transaction in the So that was a problem. So she was convicted for that.
No, but if you're abiding to the law,
Yeah,
and you're keeping your records, and you're keeping it for 7 days.
exactly.
I mean,
Your 7 days must be clearly visible. You know, it would stop numbers, would
Yes.
control, tag, bags,
Yes.
everything.
but I'm talking about my personal experiences. When the guys didn't even want to listen to the cop was acquired.
Sorry, can I add on, just to help him clarify his question? I'm 100%, well, 90% sure it was you that came to myself about 2 years ago. And my application went in for the 601B in 2019. I had the slip on the wall next to my 601A. You fined me 500 for not having this actual certificate.
The
And I
reason
still don't know.
why?
Because the stations did that and I was booked the issue.
Did you follow it up? An acknowledgement is not a certificate.
Yeah, it's a 601, it's a 601A, but it's a 601B.
Yes. So you only had a 601A.
601A with the 601B's application filled out 2019.
So the 601
Which station
C.
is this?
Mslala.
I'm sorry. Up to now you don't have
So
it.
this is, yeah, exactly. This is exactly what he's trying to say. We're working with those that, I won't say not school, they are school obviously, but the Second-Hand Goods Act, they're not familiar. And we're getting caught up in.
Agreed.
Because if you're a scrap metal dealer, you must have a 601A and a 601B. That's why what I agree with him what he's saying. It's our foot soldiers that does not know what is a 601A and a 601B. So we're going to try and educate them and to make sure that they're aware of what is the thing. But you cannot conduct business if you wouldn't acknowledge it. It's not a reasonable answer for you to conduct business. You must have the 601A and the 601B displayed in your premises for you to conduct business.
Good morning. My name is Gavin. I'm with Transnet Investigations. My team is Sanele. He's a signal technician qualified. He's been trained at Esland Park in Joburg. He's done about 2 years training. Then we got who?
Sindile Tusi.
Yeah, Sindile Tusi. She's another technician, also qualified. Trained at Esland Park in Joburg. Then we've got Mr. Bloss. These two are from Signals. Mr. Bloss and RP, we call him RP. They're from overheads. They've also been trained at Esland Park in Joburg for 2.5 years. So they both, all the members that I brought are qualified in their job.
As my colleague introduced me, I'm Sanele Mseleku, the signaling technician. Will you please forgive me? I'm not used to talking in front of so many people. I'm a bit shy when it comes to that. But I'll try by all means that you understand everything that I want to say to you about our equipment. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, because there are ladies here. First, I would love to tell, okay, sorry. We're losing so much as Transnet because of these cables here. Because of just this cable, a day we can lose billions. We're even losing our customers because of these cables. So,
what type of cable is that?
This one is a 52 core cable. We got different types of cables now.
Okay.
This one is a 52. When I'm saying it's a 52, you have to count all these.
Yes.
We're calling them cores. This one is a 52 core cable. We got different sizes. We got different sizes of cables, starting from 2 core, 4 core, 6 core, 9 core, 12 core, 16 core, 21 core, 37 core, 52 core, then 61, then 64. Prasa, we don't say, we normally have 150 cores in Transnet, but Prasa still got the 152 cores.
Sorry,
okay.
You mean each strand?
Each strand, yes.
So, this is considered
this
a
one
core?
is a 52.
So the entire cable is considered a core, and sometimes you have 3 core cable.
Yes.
But now the core is made up of 52 strands.
52, this one.
Okay, so that is how you identify.
Difference between that one and this one. You see, this is a smaller one, which I think this one is.
Can we pass this around for people to have a look at as well? What I'd like to ask a few questions about each cable as you go through them and identify them.
No problem.
So this cable here, where is it found specifically? Is this an underground cable? Is it an overhead cable?
Yeah.
This looks like a foil that comes with it. Is a steel foil? These are the type of things that scrap metal dealers would be looking out for to be able to identify it when it came to their premises.
Yes, I was going to that. Okay, this one is a 52. We as Signal, we're dealing only with cables, with underground cables. So this one is an underground cable. All these ones are underground cables. Unfortunately, I didn't bring all the cables as I've mentioned. I just brought a few. So yes, these are signal cables, underground cables. The only cable that don't go underground is the one which on the robots, you know, that's climb up the pole of the robots to the light. So that will be only 6 core. Oh, that's a 6 core and a 12 core.
And when you say a 6 core and a 12 core, it's 2 different cables or within the same cable?
2 different cables, 2 different sizes, I mean.
Okay, lovely.
So on these ones, we have, this one is a 0.6, the thickness now.
Of the copper inside
Of the
there?
copper inside.
Okay.
Is the 1.6. We've got a 1.6 and a 0.9. So the 0.9 will be smaller than this one.
A lot
if
thinner.
you check on it, yeah.
Yes.
So, okay.
So you could identify that if the customer had stripped that down, you would come
I
and
can
measure it,
definitely
and
do
you
that.
could
Yes.
say that
It's 1.6.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's got
I can
52 strands in
definitely
it.
identify it. Yeah.
strands.
Yeah.
If it's stripped down
stripped
now,
into
how would
pieces.
you be able to identify it? What distinguishing marks it's got? So we
Okay.
know as a foot soldiers down there.
Okay, what I've noticed when it's stripped down or when it's bent, but they always fold it together. So I
Does it-
only count the cost. That's all. Cause if
52.
it, yeah,
Okay.
I only count the cost. Then I'll say it's ours.
Okay. Or it's,
But it will be hard if it's separated. When you take this string out and this string out, then
Okay.
you can't do nothing.
so what he is saying though is that if it comes to you and it's presented here, now I would presume that this is going to be burnt and not stripped because it'll take forever
Yeah.
to strip this with a PVC coating on each strand. It's going to be thicker than your thumb.
Yes.
The entire cable, for starters. So in terms of your thickness, you're going to start asking questions. And if you count 52, and
Yeah,
there's any
that's
evidence of steel
definitely-
with it,
yeah.
you're going to reject that without paperwork. If it's different to that, you're going to ask your questions, but you're going to be asking for documentation as to where it comes from, because it's burnt already.
Yes.
So you would be asking for a letter anyway because it's
Yeah.
burnt. If he says to you, this comes from our fridge, this doesn't come from a fridge.
Yeah.
Can we pass this
Even
around for
in
people to
your
have a look at,
house,
because
you
we
can't-
can't
you
see at the
won't
back?
find- yes,
Okay.
please.
So we'll pass the sample around. So what he's saying is it's got 52 copper strands in it.
Sorry, just
Yes.
on that one.
Yes.
If they do cut it into meter, this is the question I was trying.
Yes.
If they do cut it into meter,
Yes.
just take out 4 strands, and he sells you 16 strands.
And it's got a letter with it, and it says I'm A1 electrical. You would not know any other ways.
A1 electrical, that's a transmit cable.
But how do you know it is? Because you're saying to me it's not 52 anymore.
Even if you take 2 strings out, where can you find this cable, this size of cable?
Exactly, but now you strip it in half, and 3 hours comes to sell it.
No.
He's got paperwork, it comes from a fridge now.
From a fridge. Is there a, okay?
It comes from a fridge.
Okay, is there a fridge that contains this much of wire? No. Yeah.
Okay.
Separated. Oh, then then on that
So
one,
this is something that's difficult. So you've had that
It is
7
difficult,
days,
yes.
Now it's gone into your 8
Yes.
storage.
yeah.
Guys, keep quiet. We can't hear the questions.
Steps arrive, right? Not
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steps arrive. Someone says, I'm expecting this to be stolen cable, and you get wrongfully arrested for that.
That can happen. And that's why we're here today, is because it has happened. So that is one of the reasons we're here today, is to make sure that we all know what we can and cannot do. But we're not saying it's not going to happen again. As the warrant and the captain explained, they've got guys out there that are policing that haven't been trained. So there's no guarantee you're not going to get arrested again for buying an extension cord. But we are hoping that we'll have a line of communication where
It's
we...
going to be difficult, hasn't it?
Yes.
Because they're taking 2 calls out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be very difficult
Yeah.
for identification purposes.
So what
Yeah.
you're saying is for now, just keep it down to your motor wire and stuff like
What you know.
that.
Yes.
Have your things
Yes. Yes.
and police know that they understand that the cable can be bought.
Yeah. Or be prepared to, at least, you're going to have to go, not negotiate, you're going to have to go to court or phone your DSO and say, listen, I'm being arrested, I've got paperwork, there's an explanation.
It don't work like that. My boy spent 5 days in Westfield.
You.
I don't want to go to Westfield.
No one does.
Exactly.
No one does. Okay, let's go through the explanations. Understand also one thing that wasn't raised here is if material has been altered to disguise its original identity in terms of removing strands. So if you can see that it was a 7-strand cable and one has been removed, it's been altered to disguise its original identity, and you actually cannot buy that. So if you can tell that it was altered, you shouldn't be buying it. If the alteration is in terms of they cut the loom in half to remove it from the TV, that wasn't disguised to disguise its identity. That was functional. So you've got to make those judgment calls as well. Like don't tread on the very thin ice.
One quick one for Transnet. We purchased we purchase material from Transnet. Are we allowed to purchase the material from Transnet?
Yes, you have to go through a tender board.
That's not always tender board, so you've got contractors that are removing scrap as well.
We purchased the crane in the harbour.
Yeah.
It's Transnet.
Yeah.
And those copper cables that came off it.
Yeah.
We're afraid to keep it now here because
The best bet to
documentation coming from TNPA.
Yeah, so when you buy it in and you've bought it, you've got your documents, everything like that, when your material is coming to your yard, give someone from Transnet a ring and say to them, here's my documents, my material's about to come in. Come have a look, see that it's here, sign my register, you've been here, you've investigated it, you've inspected it, this material I've bought legally. So when some random police oak walks around and he's like, that looks like Transnet, you're like, yes it is, they were here, they inspected it, it's legal, it's valid.
Okay, I was here on this one, on this cable. Okay, this cable you can find sometimes color coded, like this here. This one is color coded. It's not only comes in, it doesn't only comes in black. Sometimes it comes like this. You'll find that this one is a 16. You'll find that maybe it's a 64 that's like this. And there's this thing that's called, when you find it still intact like this here. There's this thing called armoring for protection. Our armoring, it's not only this.
Yes. Nothing wrong with it, it's good, it's what we needed.
You sometimes find these wires.
I'll bring it out with the catering as well. Not now.
I think they're steel wires.
Thanks so much.
It's not copper. Copper is only on the inside. It's for the protection of the cables. So when you come across them, you'll know exactly that this is Transnet stuff.
There's no one else here, is there? I'm just going to leave this
Maybe this
microphone
one,
here for a
because this
second.
one is a power cable. This one, this one, a power cable, you can buy it anywhere, because now I'm afraid it's not like before. Before Transnet cables, we had a logo on the insulation here. Yes, it was stamped before, but now I don't know. Maybe it's cost saving now. You know, on the outside, but only on this one. This is a power cable. This one, I believe, even inside your house you can use this one. So I believe this one you won't find. This one, yes, that's what I'm saying. This one you won't be able to identify. A power cable you can't identify it, but these ones here you can easily identify. As I've mentioned earlier on, the crisis that we come along with this theft of cable, it's not only then that Transnet is using billions because of it. This causes even derailment. Because while they're cutting this cable, they're shorting the cable, so it's causing a lot of stress to everyone who's working for that company. So I think that's why we're having this session today. I can hear.
I also think that they're targeting the wrong people, because the scrap dealers, this is our living.
No.
We're not supposed to be buying this stuff. So we're not the guys that are buying.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask, let him finish his presentation, because we've still got other people who need to present, and otherwise the bowl will be open and closed before we're done.
Okay, it's not that I'm accusing anyone inside here. We're just making an awareness to everyone else who's here. It's not that I'm accusing anyone. Okay, before I go any further, let me give this guy a chance. Thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gents, my name is RP. I'm from Transnet, high voltage, overheads. I've been there 39 years, and I've got some stuff here that's causing big delays in Transnet. People getting electrocuted, not knowing what it's all about. I work from between 1,000 volts right up to 88,000 volts live. So what I'm about to show you here today, it's theft that's taking place in Transnet. We actually had to take all the overheads off from Kelso to Port Epstein because of copper theft. So there's no more overheads between Kelso and Port Shepstone. They're only running diesel units, no electric units. We're actually busy removing overheads between Phoenix and Stanger. There will be no overheads as well. So it basically affects the passengers. You are only running diesels, no more electrics. And at the end of the day, it puts our job at risk, being traction linesmen on the overheads. So if there's no overheads, I don't have a job. And it's costing Transnet millions. Train delays, you're talking per train, per unit, per axle. And you've got trains piling up to Ladysmith all over the place because wires being stolen, wires being cut. Where there is electricity, wires are hanging low, trains are running into these wires, and the train drivers will never be the same again because it's big bangs. You're talking 3,000 volts DC, that's the one that runs the trains, and then we're talking about 6,600 volts AC, transmission lines, getting stolen, which feeds all your stations, your lighting in your stations, just about everything next to a railway line. So what I've done is, I'm not very well prepared. Luckily I went home and fetched samples, because this sample I'm making up for Brighton Beach Police Station on a board. So they can identify what to take, you know, what to look for when they catch somebody. Which I feel scrap dealers should also have something like this to identify, hey, that's Transnet, this is Transnet, don't buy it. Otherwise there's going to be a problem. We used to do copper operations in the harbours many years ago. Before that container gets shipped overseas, Transnet, Eskom, signals, we come, we take everything out and we identify what is what and whose is whose. So at the time we finish there, that container is going nowhere. Not enough weight for them to ship it. Those things they've stopped many years ago. But we're sitting with a predicament here. But what I would like to do, I'd like to start with this little thin piece of aluminium wire here. Now this piece of wire, it runs 6,600 volts. That's on the AC circuit. And that is for your cabins, stations, all your lighting, you know, on your stations. This little piece of wire here. And they actually have 3 of these wires, and then they use the same wire as the F2 on the 6,600 volts AC. That small piece of aluminium. Very light, not worth nothing, but it can cause a lot of problems, especially on the stations. So that can get used for your lighting, stations, platforms, computers, everything in that little office on the station. And in your earth, should there be a problem, somebody cutting wires, that current will come through this piece of wire. Okay, that's aluminium, very light, weighs a few grams. Now we come to the overheads. Now on your overheads, you've got this wire, it's called a 500 feeder. From your substation, it feeds through this wire, and this is all got to do with your trains now. It runs on the line, electric units. It comes through this wire, this is your main feed. It's a 500 feeder wire. From this wire, it runs into this wire, which is a copper wire. This is called a 375. This is the biggest problem Transnet has at the moment. This is what they're stealing. In the past, well, you still got some places in the yards. If you look at the thickness of that wire, that's old school. And you look at the thickness of this wire, this is new school. I'd rather steal that, it's worth more money, than steal that. And this is where the problem lies at the moment. This morning we've got a call out at Umlaas Road. They cut this wire, not this wire, they cut that one. Then we've got another call out where? Ashburton. Same thing, they stole this wire. And we've had quite a few electrocutions, Manzanyama line going towards Claywood Racecourse, where the guys cut the wire, they break the switches open, they open the switches, so it could be somebody from inside that opened the switch to switch the power off. But in our area, in the Bay area where I work, they don't know about couplers. And they forgot couplers at Claywood Station, and that's how the guy got electrocuted. And then we found out now this guy's from Newcastle, but he's stealing wires in Durban. So they travel quite a distance to collect this wire. And this wire is quite heavy. You guys are more than welcome to come and have a look at it just now. But I hope they take pictures of this and, like I say, make a catalogue, you know, exactly on what is what, and let all the scrap dealers have it, and then they know what to look for. But at the moment, I don't think they know what this is and what that is and whatever is. They'll just buy it because it's copper. I'm not covering up for them. I'm just here to explain to them which wire gets used for what. Okay, so in other words, from your feeder wire, we usually have catenary wire. From the catenary wire, we will have a dropper wire like this. It's a wire that's connected to all these wires, and then you've got the most important one. This is called the contact wire. This one is right at the bottom. I don't have enough hands, but this wire here, also a copper wire, this is a 160 millimeter square. That copper wire feeds that current from there to there, through there, into this wire. This is your most important wire. And in the olden days, it used to have a spoornet emblem on it. Now the new ones we're getting now has got a transnet emblem on it. You can't throw it into a fern, it will explode, because it's got a piece of steel wire in the middle there. Usually it explodes if you throw this in. But everything that I've shown you here, excluding the aluminium, this is copper, copper, copper. But now this, we call it the contact wire, 161 millimeter square. This thing can last between 5 and 15 years. But what happens with this? Your train, your pantograph of your train, your unit. This is the wire that pantograph runs on. That gives that unit power. This wire here. But without this wire, no electric units can run. Because the units are designed to run on this wire. Brand new, it's 15 millimeter square. Once it starts going below 8 or 9 millimeters square, we cut it out and cut in new wires. Because at a certain millimeter square, microns, we call it microns, it splits because of the tension on these wires. Now I find there's 3 different type of thefts taking place, which I've noticed, over the years. The one guy will just come and steal that wire, and he leaves the rest. The one guy, he comes and steals that wire and cuts this wire. He doesn't steal this wire to cause more delays. So basically, while we're busy fixing at Camperdown, for instance, they're stealing at Umlaas Road because it's a mission to join these wires. Now what I found in that bag there was a splice. This is a splice. Now this splice actually goes into these little grooves where you actually join the new one in, right there. Yeah, it's called a 6-bolt splice. So in other words, half the wire goes in there, the other half goes in there when we join in new wires. So this piece of splice I found in that bag there. I don't know where this came from. Okay, so now we know what this is. This is your 500 feeder. This is your 375 copper. This is their favorite, this one here. Then we've got the other catenary. Now in the olden days, used to have that little thin one, well not the olden days, now recently, especially in yards, this one serves exactly the same purpose as that one. Although it's much thinner than that one. Serves exactly the same purpose. Right, so now we've got the catenary. Now this one too, they like stealing. I see here at Finland Station, Kingsay Station, from Wentworth to Finland, there's none of this left. They've stolen all of it, the thin one. There's nothing there. Everything's hanging on the ground. Now this one here, this is your 160 millimeter square copper. Like I say, this one connects those three to make your continuous flow of current. That one there. It's called the FCC. In other words, it runs from the feeder to the catenary to the contact. That's why this one we call it a FCC. Feeder catenary contact. This gets put onto your overheads with clamps, with penetrox inside it to make it a better connection so they don't burn. Now we're talking about 3000 volts DC. And over the years I've had a lot of friends electrocuted, doing live work. Sometimes they make mistakes, your mind's not always there, and there's no second chance in the 3 kV circuit. There's no second chance. If you do get electrocuted, you live 2 years, you're lucky. Because once you've been electrocuted, it affects your liver, it affects your kidneys, your lifespan is reduced completely. Right, then we've got the dropper wire. This is the little one here. Now this is the one that keeps this wire at the right height. It gets connected here with a little clamp onto this wire. It's got little grooves like. It's called the dropper wire. Now this keeps that in place, so when the unit comes past, this little wire will go up or it will go down. That's your dropper wire. I found a few of these at Brighton Beach police station the other day with this. Actually had the clamps on too. I had to go and identify it.
Can I bring a clamp for you to show them what the clamp looks like?
I beg you?
Can I bring a clamp to show them what the clamp looks like?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and we're going to pass the samples around as well.
No problem,
okay.
No problem. When I'm finished, eh? Okay, now, this little wire, we call tiger wire. Now this is aluminium, very light. Now because of all that being stolen now Transnet brought out this wire. It's called the tiger wire. This wire here does exactly the same as all these three wires together. The only difference is that's copper and this is aluminium. That's why Transnet is now bringing out this wire, because of theft. And they don't steal this wire. When they see aluminium, they don't want it. They want that.
It should fall out now.
So everything now is being replaced with that tiger wire. We've come to a few places where it's been cut and it's been left. Because now they see, hey, I don't want aluminium, I want copper. So this is the latest technology in Transnet, that one there. Very light like a feather. Weighs a few grams. That there, I don't know how much you get for a kg, but that's at least 1.5, 2 kgs there already. Just those little samples. Right, now we come, I think that's enough of the overheads and the phase wire on the 6.6. Now we come to the earthing. You see, because of high voltage, you need an earth. In other words, should something trip at the top, you need this thing to go through your mast poles, back into your railway line, back into your substations. And then it feeds it back into the overheads. So everything works in a circle. This one is connected, it's called 96 millimeter square PVC. This one here. We use it from the mast pole to the rail. It's like a earth, from the mast to the rail, it's a earth. To get that shortage that takes place on your overheads, comes through this little wire, back to the rail, back to the sub, then we got the negative returns. We call it negative returns, where all your lines get picked up back into the substation and it kicks it back into the overheads. Now that's 96 millimeter square. Now we've got a new one that Transnet's invented. It's got copper in it, if you look very carefully, and it takes a higher voltage. Because now we found the current goes through this thing 2-3 times and then you must replace it. But now with the new one, it's got a bit of copper in it. The reason why they made it like this, because the thieves like to come and cut here, then they see, hey, aluminium, meantime there's copper inside. They don't know that. But it takes a higher voltage and it lasts longer. This stuff we use on negative returns for your feed from your substation or your track legs, or easy. You see, he's who's got the signal leg, that's all your robots. My job is the track leg. So any shortage on the overheads will come through my leg. That's your track leg. So those are the two legs you actually get in Transnet. Two railway lines. Signal leg or your track leg. This one we also use for track circuiting, you know, to help them with their signals and stuff. And as well as a dead short, you know, from the overhead. So because this one burns, this one lasts much longer. We can even use this on negative returns back to your sub. But you need to put at least 10, 15 of these on, otherwise it burns. So let's say you put 10 of these on, you need to put 21 of those on to carry the same voltage. You see, it's not practical to put 21 of these on in a small space, but you can put only 10 of these or 6 of these. In the olden days, we used to use copper on your negative returns, but the copper gets stolen. We even use contact wire, that one that's moving around here, that same one. See, this one's a bit worn out. You can see the trains has been running on it. We used to use that type of copper on your negative returns, but they stole it. That's why we came out with this new, the composite.
Can I have a look at that one? I haven't seen this one before.
This is composite. You can see there's a bit of copper in it. You must look very carefully. You'll see the shine.
Okay, now what are the strands on the outside there again?
Okay. It's
aluminium.
You see your outside's aluminium, and if you look carefully, you'll see the copper.
On the inside.
Little copper pieces. Because when they cut it, and they see, aluminium, I don't want it. But the meantime, there's copper inside.
Okay. And that's replaced which one?
That replaces this one. This is the just steel wire.
Okay.
Aluminium steel.
Okay.
And then this here.
Can I pass this around?
Yeah. Now this here is what we call a continuity bond. So when there's a break in the track, you weld this on, so your current is continuously flowing to the next break in the track. Your current continuously flows through this bond. It's called a continuity bond, 100 millimeters square.
Is that the only size that they come in?
Yeah, well, in the olden days they had the 50 millimeter square, but we use them in yards.
Okay.
These ones we use on main lines.
So that's the size we're going to see, because often when the police come out, they will see something that looks similar to this in terms of that it's all bundled together.
Exactly.
And they'll say it's Transnet, but it's actually a lot bigger than this.
No, this is...
Yes, it's an earth strapping basically.
Yeah, this is the real McCoy.
Okay.
But in the olden days, we used to use copper bonds. Copper bonds. And then I came out with the idea, let's put strands in, copper strands. So when you clean it here, you see steel, but it's also got copper in. It's a bit dirty, I didn't clean it. My apology. This was a rush. This man didn't instruct me like bring samples and clean samples, sorry. So this I just picked up from home because I'm making up a board for
training.
Brighton Beach Police Station. I've made one up for Wentworth Police Station as well. Because there's a lot of stuff. Sometimes he comes and fetches us. that we have to go and identify, is this Transnet? Whose is this? We don't
Can I
identify
have a look at
signal
that?
stuff because we don't work with it. We only identify stuff that we specialize in. We don't like going into the wires and stuff.
Okay, this is
But
also
now-
quite hard and inflexible.
Yeah.
Okay, so it holds its shape like that.
Yes,
Okay.
you see, you use a cat weld. It's explosive.
Yes.
It's explosive that you use on the rail.
Yes.
You weld this thing on. In the olden days, we used to use gas, braze it.
Yes.
But today's technology, we use cat weld.
Okay.
It's explosives that burns this
and
thing
welds
into
it into
the
place,
rail.
yes.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is because that's so hard and inflexible, this is very different to earth strapping that we normally find in the industry. So
Yes.
if I could let the dealers just have a look at that, that's
Now, that
very
thing
different.
you don't just
Okay.
bend easily.
No, okay.
See, it's a bit flexible for the train when it goes over it. It's got a bit of slack on it.
But not a lot, not
a
like
lot,
earth
very
strapping.
little. Yeah, now this thing too, I found in that little heap there.
And there's the new one too.
Yeah, this little thing there. This is called a dropout fuse. It's not part of my job, but I know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's for substation technicians.
Yes. So the
To
new
switch
one's
off the power, they take a stick, they pull it here, this thing does that, and your power's off. So this comes from your 6,600 volts. The top one, the very first one I showed you. That's where this thing comes from.
and that's the new one.
Yeah. This is all dropout fuses. Same thing here. Yeah. So when you pull it from the bottom with a stick, sorry, that way, it does that, it does that.
It cuts
So
the power to the
this
circuit.
disconnects from your 6,600 volts. Okay, but now I also found this in that bag there. I don't know where it came from.
It's my sample bag.
This is your sample.
It's my sample
Where
bag.
did you find it?
I've collected this over about 20 years.
You see, she's keeping railway copper, eh? Okay. This is the same.
It's right
Luckily,
there.
it's
Take it
under
with
the
you.
eyes. Okay, this here too. This is your. You see your catenary wire, when they snap it, this is what we usually do. We join in another piece and we put crossbees on to keep the tension, to keep the current flowing through it. Yeah, that also found in that bag. And this piece of contact wire as well, I found in your bag.
There were clamps in there as well.
Yes, clamps, yes. Now I didn't go, I just saw it in a...
RP, you remember the training workshop you did like 11 years ago?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
okay.
coming clean, okay? I'm on camera.
Is there any question?
You've shown- you've shown these, okay.
Sorry, yeah, well, I see here's a clamp here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're marked and they're stamped?
Yes.
Yes.
Now here's a clamp here. It's called a parallel clamp. It's a parallel clamp. Yeah. This is copper. They're quite heavy. We've got two bolts going in here. See there? It's copper bolts.
And if you look at the side and you rub it with a damp
Yes.
cloth, you'll see the logo of Transnet stamped on there.
And
Yes.
it's got Transnet logos on it.
Yes.
Spoornet.
Yes.
Because they've been coming long time, from the 60s. Yeah. But this clamp actually goes onto your contact wire like that. It's got a little groove. You see there? And then that wire, that copper one I showed you, the thin one that they steal, it comes through these little holes here. It's to carry your current from your feeder, your catenary, to your contact wire. So this is called, we call it a parallel clamp. Now this, you see, you get about 10 different types. This one is also a parallel clamp, but this one is for your catenary and your pigtail. Now your pigtail wire is very thin. This is what we used to use in the olden days to carry the current from your feeder, your FCC, your feeder to your contact. In the olden days we used that one. But today we use the tiger wire, the aluminium one. So your clamp sizes are different now. It's a pigtail. The reason we call it a pigtail, you get it in the middle. If there's a Morse pole, there's a Morse pole. This thing will go right in the center of those two poles to carry the current through properly so it doesn't burn this piece of wire, the dropper wire.
Can I show them something
Yeah.
specific about your dropper wire? So what we look at here, specifically when I'm training scrap metal dealers and how to identify, is it's completely perfectly round and it's very hard to bend.
Yeah.
Has very little flexibility, so it's got a high tensile strength.
But there again, sorry, my apology. You measure the microns or microns?
Yes, but-
Because we work with micrometers.
But now your scale operators at dealers will not
Yeah,
work with that.
yeah, exactly.
So what we do is we teach them that if it's perfectly round...
Don't break it now.
No, I won't break it. It's perfectly round and it's hard to bend. And it's thicker than average cable. It's a single strand. This shows you it's never been in a cable format. It's got no indentations from being in another
That's a
form of
single
cable.
strand.
That this now requires paperwork to show where it originates from.
Yeah, yes.
And we use these clamps here to show that anything that's marked or stamped and uniquely identifiable cannot be bought without documentation that identifies these products in detail on the documentation, saying that it's allowed for legal sale.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody else uses this stuff that I've just shown you now. There's no other company that uses it. Only Transnet. So don't tell me, oh, but those guys use the same. No. Transnet's the only ones that use it. Especially these clamps, this contact wire, these splices, drop-out fuses, catenary wire,
That splice
dropper
that you're
wire.
showing there, one of the things...
Only Transnet uses it. That thing should have an emblem on it
Okay,
as well.
it's one of the things we use for training as well, is to show, this is what we talk about when it's altered to disguise its original identity. So this was offered for sale with the seller making the explanation that he'd used an angle grinder to cut off the bolts. You can see clearly the bolts are in this area over here, and the angle grinder was used over here. So there was no purpose to using an angle grinder other than to alter its original identity. So this cannot be purchased at all. It's illegal.
no.
Okay.
Only Transnet
Even
uses it.
though it's unidentifiable at this
Yes,
stage,
yes.
it's been altered to change its
Like
original
I say,
identity.
that thing is designed, if you look at this wire, it's got a groove in it. This is a contact wire. This is one your trained painter runs on. Now this clamp here, it's also got a groove in it, but it's got teeth in it. So when I'm splicing that wire there, you have to torque it 67 kilonewtons times 3. So every time you torque it with a torque wrench and you knock it, those wires, those little grooves there, it actually bites into this contact wire. So there's no way that it's going to pull out. That's why in the college they train you on how to torque these things. And Transnet's the only one that uses it. In the olden days, it used to be like 6 bolts. The new ones come now, sometimes it's got 8 bolts. It's longer. In other words, your splices are longer. In the olden days, it was only like that long, there. But the new ones that's coming out now is that long, and it's got a clear Transnet emblem on it, or Spoornet. Yeah.
Okay, I'm hoping that we can build the relationships that we do need between ourselves and the police, that going forward we don't have to operate with fear in the industry. And if there are any questions, please feel free. I'm going to get Warrant Officer Naika's number, Captain Tembu's number, and I'll distribute it to everyone who's present here today. Okay. Thank you.